All right, everybody, get ready, because today we're about to go behind the curtain. You know that little room in the hospital, the pharmacy? We're going to see what's really going on in there.
It's more exciting than it sounds.
Way more. We're talking hospital pharmacists, the medication masters, what they do all day, how to even become one, and, maybe this is the job you've been looking for your whole life.
It could be.
And guiding our deep dive today is RoleCatcher. They're all about helping people figure out their career path.
They've got a ton of stuff on their website, yeah.
We'll get into that later, but first things first. Ever wonder what those pharmacists actually do back there? It's got to be more than just counting pills, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's some of that, but honestly, it's way more about being part of the patient's care team.
Okay, I like that. So not just filling prescriptions, but actually working with the doctors and nurses.
Exactly. RoleCatcher talks about how hospital pharmacists collaborate on personalized treatment plans.
So it's like they're the medication quarterbacks, making sure the right play happens at the right time.
That's a great way to put it. And this guide even mentions something called pharmacovigilance.
Brr.
Sounds kind of intense, right?
Pharmaca what now? Break that down for me.
Basically, it means they keep an eye on how medications work after they're out in the world, after all the testing and stuff. They're like medication detectives.
Whoa, looking for side effects and stuff that maybe didn't show up right away.
Exactly. They're all about safety,
Well,
especially with new drugs coming out all the time. But here's something I bet you didn't expect: patient empowerment.
okay, now you're just using big words.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
Hospital pharmacists, they don't just hand you your pills and say, see ya. They actually take the time to explain things.
Really? Like what the medication does, how to take it properly.
All of that. They answer questions, calm your nerves, make sure you understand what's going on.
Wow, I never knew that. So they're like medication therapists too.
Kind of, yeah. And get this, RoleCatcher has this whole section about the career ladder for pharmacists, how you move up.
From newbie to the big G's, huh?
Exactly. And they use real stories from real pharmacists, which is really cool. Like when you're starting out, it seems like it's all about learning the ropes, being super accurate, no messing around with medication dosages.
Right, I got it meticulous.
Totally. Then, as you get more experience, you start taking on more responsibility, maybe even mentoring the new folks coming in.
So like you start calling some of the shots.
Yeah, exactly. You get to handle more complex stuff, solve tougher problems. Trust me, in a hospital pharmacy, something unexpected is always happening.
I bet. Okay, so what about the top dogs, those senior pharmacists? Are they like kicking back, doing crossword puzzles all day?
No way. They're super hands-on, but they're also thinking about the bigger picture, like
Yeah.
running the whole pharmacy, setting policies, maybe even getting into research. It's a lot, but it's got to be rewarding, right?
Sounds like it. Okay, let's talk pros and cons for a sec. RoleCatcher keeps it real, which I appreciate.
They do.
So, good news for job security, am I right? I mean, people are always going to need medications.
That's one less thing to stress about, that's for sure. And the salary's not too shabby either, especially if you're really good at what you do.
Brains, compassion, and a whole lot of patience sounds like the recipe for success.
Pretty much. RoleCatcher also mentioned continuous learning as a perk, which makes sense.
Oh yeah, new drugs are always coming out, got to keep up with the times.
It's like you're always learning something new, which honestly could be a pro or con, depending on how you look at it.
True, true. Okay, let's flip the script. What about the tough parts? RoleCatcher doesn't shy away from the challenges here.
Nope, they don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
This is high-stakes work, no doubt about it. You're dealing with people's lives, and that comes with a lot of pressure.
I can only imagine. One wrong dosage could.
Exactly. And then there are the hours. Hospitals don't exactly keep bankers' hours, so be prepared for nights, weekends, holidays, the whole 9 yards.
So much for that work-life balance, huh?
It's definitely something to consider. Plus, there's always the risk of making a mistake. It happens to the best of us, but in this field.
A mistake could be? Well,
Yeah. That's why those pharmacists are so meticulous, always double-checking everything. It's a lot of responsibility.
No kidding. It really makes you appreciate what they do, I mean, even with all the stress and long hours, it's got to be rewarding to know you're making that kind of a difference.
For the right person, it's absolutely a calling, not just a job. But that's something you got to figure out for yourself.
Totally. Okay, so let's say someone's listening to this and they're like, sign me up. What does it actually take to become a hospital pharmacist? Aside from, not being afraid of needles.
Well, for starters, you got to love science.
Makes sense. You're dealing with all those medications, chemical reaction.
And math. Don't forget about the math.
Hmm.
Dosage calculations, concentrations. It's a big part of it. But RoleCatcher pointed out something interesting. It's not just about the sciencey stuff.
Oh, tell me more.
Communication. For one,
Yeah.
you got to be able to talk to people. And I don't just mean other medical folks.
You mean the patients?
Yes. Imagine trying to explain a complicated medication to someone who's nervous, maybe not feeling well, and probably overwhelmed with information.
Oof. Yeah, it takes some serious communication skills.
For sure. You got to be able to break things down into plain English, answer their questions, make sure they understand what's going on.
So it's like you're a translator, a therapist, and a pharmacist all rolled into one.
You got it. And don't forget about critical thinking. That's huge in this field.
Okay, so what does that look like for a hospital pharmacist?
Think of it like being a detective, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at the patient's history, their current medications, any allergies they might have, and you're looking for any potential problems.
Like a bad reaction between two meds or the wrong dosage.
Exactly. You got to be on top of your game, connecting the dots that other people might miss.
Wow, so much for those quiet moments in the pharmacy, huh? Okay,
Yeah.
let's say something goes wrong or there's a crazy situation. What then? Does everyone just panic?
That's where problem-solving skills come in handy. RoleCatcher stressed that one big time.
Give me an example.
Okay, imagine this. You're the pharmacist, and the pharmacy suddenly runs out of a life-saving medication.
Oh no, what do you do?
You can't exactly tell the patient, sorry, come back tomorrow. You got to think on your feet, find a solution, maybe contact another hospital or something.
Talk about pressure. But that's also what makes it so rewarding, right? You're not just pushing pills, you're actually helping people, sometimes saving lives.
Exactly. Okay, but with all that said, you're not just going to waltz into this job without the right education. RoleCatcher is very clear on that.
Yeah, what is it, like a bajillion years of school?
Pretty much.
Mhm.
You're going to need a doctor of pharmacy degree. That's a PharmD.
So yeah, lots and lots of school. But it's not just about getting that piece of paper.
Right. This is a field where you never really stop learning. New meds, new research, new technology.
Mm.
You got to stay on top of it all.
Lifelong learning is the name of the game.
Exactly. And then there are additional certifications you can get, like if you want to specialize in a certain area.
Oh, right, like working with kids or something?
Yep. You can become a board-certified pharmacotherapy specialist, and that shows everyone you're a real expert in a specific area.
Okay, so we've got the education part down, years of studying, a fancy degree, maybe even some extra certifications. It's a commitment for sure. But remember how RoleCatcher has all those tools to help with the job hunt?
Oh yeah, that's the cool part.
Yeah.
They're not just going to tell you out the job and then leave you hanging.
Exactly. And some of the stuff they offer is pretty wild. Like, get this, they have this CV resume builder thing, and it uses AI to make your resume, like, perfect.
Seriously, like a robot writing your resume.
Pretty much. It looks at the job description and figures out exactly what skills to highlight and how to phrase everything. It's kind of freaky, but also kind of genius.
I'd love to know if it actually works.
Me too.
Yeah.
And that's not all. They have this massive database of, like, a gazillion practice interview questions.
A gazillion. Are you serious?
I'm not kidding. It's like they thought of every single question an interviewer could possibly ask.
Wow, talk about being prepared. They've really thought of everything.
They have. Okay, but before we get too lost in all the tech stuff, let's bring it back to the heart of the matter. We've covered a lot about being a hospital pharmacist, the good, the bad, and the you got to be a little bit crazy to do this parts.
We have.
But at the end of the day, it all comes down to one question. Is this the right career for you?
And that's a question only you can answer. But hopefully, this deep dive has given you a good starting point.
Exactly. We've given you a sneak peek behind the pharmacy counter, shown you what it really takes to thrive in this field. Now it's up to you to decide if it's the right path for you. Okay, so we've laid out the path, the yellow brick road to becoming a hospital pharmacist. It's a journey, that's for sure. But RoleCatcher doesn't just leave you hanging after graduation, right? They've got your back with all these tools to help you actually land that dream job. And honestly, some of it sounds kind of too good to be true, like AI resume writing. Come on.
That's right. They call it the CV resume builder.
Right.
And apparently it uses artificial intelligence to make your resume match the job description perfectly.
Hold on. It's like a robot writing your resume for you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, kind of. It analyzes the job description.
Yeah.
Picks out the important keywords and stuff, and then figures out how to make your experience sound like a perfect fit.
That's wild. It's like having a digital career coach whispering in your ear, put this here, emphasize that. It's a little creepy, but also kind of brilliant. But even with the perfect resume, you still got to ace the interview, right? And let's be real, interviews are terrifying.
Totally agree. You're under pressure, got to think on your feet, and even if you're totally qualified, it's easy to get tripped up. But That's where RoleCatcher's interview prep comes in. And they went all out.
Didn't they? I mean, over 120,000 practice interview questions. Seriously. They've got questions about, like, everything. Basic pharmacy stuff, ethical dilemmas, those curveball questions they love to throw at you.
Yeah. It's like they rated the interview question bolt.
Yeah.
But it makes sense, right? The more you practice, the more prepared you are, the more confident you'll feel when you're sitting there across from the hiring manager. It's like a boot camp for your brain.
Okay, but I gotta ask, have you tried any of this stuff yourself? Like the AI resume builder, the practice questions, does it actually work?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's definitely something I'd love to dig into more. Maybe we could talk to some pharmacists who've used these tools, see what they thought. That would be a fascinating deep dive.
Ooh, I'm in. But for now, let's get back on track. We've covered a lot about being a hospital pharmacist, the day-to-day stuff, the career ladder, all those skills you need.
Oh, and don't forget the challenges, the stress, the long hours.
Yeah,
We kept it real.
exactly. But at the end of the day, you gotta ask yourself, is this the right fit for me?
That's the big question. And only you have the answer. Hopefully this deep dive is giving you a better sense of what it really takes to be a hospital pharmacist.
That's what we're here for. We want to give you the inside scoop so you can make an informed decision. So what do you say we take a quick break and then come back to explore some of the other fascinating aspects of this career path?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, so as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of the hospital pharmacist, what's the takeaway here? What really stood out to you from all this?
Honestly,
Hmm?
it's how much these guys, these women, they're like the hidden heroes of healthcare. We always think doctors, nurses, but those pharmacists,
Mm.
they're right there on the front lines too.
Totally. Making sure those medications actually do what they're supposed to do.
And it's not just about the science, right? They're dealing with people at their most vulnerable, trying to make sense of complicated treatments. That takes empathy.
Big time. It's like you got to be both a scientist and a people person. Not an easy combo.
You got that right. And let's not forget, things are always changing. New drugs, new tech. You got to be on your toes in this field.
It's like a lifelong game of catch-up, but in a good way. Always something new to learn. So for anyone listening who's thinking, hey, maybe this is for me, what advice would you give them?
First things first. Talk to pharmacists, shadow them if you can, see what it's really like day in and day out. And don't just focus on the science part, see how they interact with patients, the whole picture.
And hey, RoleCatcher can be a big help too. They've got all those resources, guides, even the AI resume stuff. It's worth checking out.
Definitely. But at the end of the day, you got to be passionate about it. If you're genuinely fired up about helping people through medication therapy, then yeah, this could be your dream job.
I love that. It's not just about pills and prescriptions. It's about making a real difference in people's lives.
Now you're getting it. It's about using your knowledge and compassion to help people get better. What could be more rewarding than that?
Absolutely. Well said. And on that note, I think it's time for us to sign off on this episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you learned a thing or two, maybe even discovered a new career path to explore. As always, stay curious out there.